Really?
Yeah, and I haven't had a chance to really build out these studios quite yet.
Hello, hello, everyone.
You are listening to the Wells Report. 844-927-6691. That's our telephone nombre. I was speaking Spanish right there. Nombre. Rhymes with hombre. The reason I'm bringing this up is because at some point this afternoon, a mariachi band will strike up next door. We have a fantastic office on the 10th floor of a Dallas area high rise. And it's very, very cool. As you can see, if you go to our video, which is on, by the way, even though the windows are a little fogged up, you will discover that that we're just way high in the air over Dallas. It's really kind of cool. And so what ends up happening is that this mariachi band, we haven't really built out the studio per se to most, shall we say, acoustically professional circumstances. So the sound kind of travels around the building. So when this happens, which should happen in about, 35 minutes or so, there will be mariachi music in the background. They are shooting a television commercial, and you're going to hear it here on the Wells Report. Just thought you'd like to know, just a little warning. Okay. Donald Trump signed the tax overhaul and a budget bill before heading to Mar-a-Lago. That's right. There's also something else there. There was a bill that will keep the government running through mid-January. Nancy Pelosi compared the GOP tax bill to Frankenstein and then screwed up the end of the story Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. She said the monster comes back and destroys Dr. Frankenstein. No, that's not what happened in the Mary Shelley story. But what she wanted to say was that this bill was a Frankenstein that would soon come back and consume its writers and supporters. I'm really going to miss her. When I got to tell you, whenever the noxious nerve gas that spills out across San Francisco and the district that Nancy Pelosi's from, whenever that stops being spewed to all those people so they keep sending her back to Washington, I'm really going to miss her. Let me try it again. I'm really going to miss her. I'm really going to miss her. No. The woman is a disaster. She's absolutely a disaster. By the way, on the way out the door, the president said, we need some help on an infrastructure package after the first major legislative achievement. The Democrats very much regret they wanted to be a part of it, but I really do believe we're going to have a lot of bipartisan work to get done. I really believe our infrastructure can be bipartisan. He predicted the infrastructure bill would pass easily with support from the left. People want it, Republicans and Democrats. I actually wanted to save the easy one for one down the road, which is kind of smart. I'm just saying. He predicted the infrastructure bill would pass easily with support on the left. At some point, for the good of the country, I predict we'll start working with Democrats in a bipartisan fashion. Infrastructure would be a perfect place to start after having spent, foolishly, $7 trillion of the Middle East. It's time to start rebuilding our country. Do you agree? It's not a bad idea. I mean, I don't know. You look out there right this very moment, there's an awful lot of infrastructure rebuilding going on right now. Do you get to drive around your town without seeing unremitting and unending highway construction? Highway construction. Yeah, and I guess it adds 20 minutes, at least 20 minutes to my day, both ways. So I waste 2/3 of an hour just because there's highway construction coming and going to work. Is that you too? You have to deal with that? Democrats say the bill, estimating to add to the national debt by more than $1 trillion over the next decade, will leave the U.S. with few options for addressing major priorities, including struggling public schools, increasing mortality due to an opioid crisis, and social safety net programs, let alone a major infrastructure package. Well, they've got no one to blame but themselves. They've got nobody to blame but themselves. President Obama spent $5.5 trillion in the first 2 years of his administration. He ended up spending over $10 trillion. That's all the debt by all the presidents combined before his office. I mean, seriously? Yeah, the answer is yes. Seriously. Man. Coming up in just a couple of seconds, we're going to bring you the wit and wisdom of Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell has been absolutely exposed in 2 newspaper articles I'll share with you in just a couple of seconds. You're listening to the Wells Report. This is the USA Radio Network. Stay right there on Friday.
All right, sir. Sounding good?
Thank you.
I'm going to run to the restroom real quick. Be right back.
I think it's a good idea. I think I'll join you.
All right.
You know what? We're just going to have to get ourselves a pizza.
All right, man. We got 2 minutes. Oh, yeah, yeah. No.
All righty. All right.
All right. We're back in 45 seconds.
45 damn seconds. So we played Trump. We played Mitch McConnell. Sorry about that.
We didn't play McConnell yet. We played Malone.
No, we're going to play McConnell. Gonna play McConnell.
Merry Christmas. I have to go.
Take good care, you guys. People leaving early?
Yeah. Just one guy. The guy that does the show right before you.
Ah,
His name's Tom.
I heard Tom shut the door.
right, back in 10 seconds.
You're listening to the Wells Report. John David Wells at your service. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you and yours. God bless all of you. Thanks very much for joining us here on the Wells Report. I know we sort of appeared like out of nowhere. All of a sudden we're here on your favorite radio station. All I can say is that I'm glad to be here. And I'm really hoping that you and I get to be friends for a long time. Because we're going to be sharing the news with each other. The important stuff. Final reading on U.S. third quarter growth, the GDP is up 3.2%. The forecast was 3.3. It may get there. They may revise this after a couple of months. So 3% growth, huge. When you have 3% growth in an economy as big as this one, the United States economy, when you have 3% growth, it's huge. It's just unbelievable because the government earns so much more money. And it's you and me and all of us working really, really hard. That's what it is. It's the United States firing on all cylinders. And now that we have the opportunity of getting a serious kick in the corporate pants with this tax cut, we're going to be doing very, very well in this nation for the next little bit. I can hardly wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. The presidential tracking poll from Rasmussen has a presidential approval rating of 44%. 54% still disapprove. Still trying to figure out just exactly why that is, because that is not something that I see. That's not something that I feel. It's not something that I'm really dealing with here in the United States. And I'm wondering if you feel that way too. There are two news articles. This is beautiful. You know, I can't say that I hate Mitch McConnell, because in order to hate somebody, you have to what's the word? You have to believe they have some value. I mean, there's got to be something there that's hateable. And there's plenty of things that really annoy me about Mitch McConnell, but I have no idea. I try to base my hatred for people on truth as opposed to just feelings. You know, I'm still trying to figure out just exactly what that's all about. You know what I mean? So here we go. Mitch McConnell declared 2017 a huge success for the Republican Congress, saying in a year-end press conference that Congress has passed legislation to dramatically transform the nation and the economy. Here he is, speaking for his own self.
One thing I can say about this year, it was pretty partisan. There's not much you can do on a partisan basis in the Senate at 52-48 or at 51-49, which would be the number for us next year. I don't think most of our Democratic colleagues want to do nothing. And there are areas, I think, where we can get bipartisan agreement.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's really, really good. Yeah. It's really hard to get anything done when you've got a 51-49 majority in the Senate. He's already setting himself up for failure, and thus for failure with the Senate and Trump and so on and so forth, saying it's really, really difficult to get this stuff done. It wouldn't be difficult for Harry Reid to get this stuff done. He just used the nuclear option and call it a day. You know it. I know it. We all know it. But then again, those guys want to rule. They mean to govern. The Republican Party is still trying to find out whether or not people like them. They keep trying to show the Democrats just exactly who the boss is. Right. Yeah, I'm beginning to understand now. Sure, I am. So there's that. My gosh. 2017 is a huge success for the Republican Congress. A combination of regulatory relief and comprehensive tax reform is the way to get the economy moving again. Yeah. And then there's this article from The Hill coming out on the same day. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has been privately saying Republicans could lose both the House and the Senate in the 2018 midterm elections. Yeah. Politico reported yesterday that McConnell has been sharing the concerns privately as GOP leaders worry about losing control of Congress in the midterms. Yeah. Well, quit giving your seats away. If you quit giving your seats away, you might actually have a chance. Republican National Committee Chairwoman Ronna Romney McDaniel also presented a report to White House Chief of Staff John Kelly showing how the GOP had lost favor with female voters. And Speaker Paul Ryan also told donors he's afraid GOP lawmakers in swing districts could retire, opening up House seats to Democrats. A string of Republican lawmakers have already announced their retirements, and the GOP will only hold a one-seat majority in the Senate once Senator-elect Doug Jones, the Democrat from Alabama, has been sworn in. Yeah, that's because the Republican Party blew the Alabama senatorial race. Because, gosh, you just have to find a way to be able to excuse not being able to get anything done. So there you have it. Two articles. McConnell declaring 2017 a huge success for the Republican Congress, and then privately saying that the Republicans could lose both the House and Senate in 2018. Isn't that great? This is the guy at the top. Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi may be the most ridiculous creatures in American politics. But do they ever talk about the fact that, well, in 2018, we might stay as the minority party in the United States? Yeah. They don't say that stuff. You know why? Because they're not wishing that happens. The reason that Mitch McConnell is saying this is because he hopes that happens. You see, because if he's the minority leader, he can't be blamed for anything that doesn't get passed or does get passed. See, I can be in the most comfortable place of any professional politician. One of unaccountability. Oh, yeah. God, yeah. Telephone number again, 844-927-6691. Gosh, I really hope he leaves office soon. I really want Mitch McConnell to get out of the way. There's never been anybody that has ever been in a situation where he didn't there's been anybody where he didn't just absolutely abject, just screw things up. Telephone number again, 844-927-6691. I don't know who could take over. I don't know who could take over for Mitch McConnell, but somebody should. Who should take over for Mitch McConnell? John Cornyn? Yeah, he could do that. John Cornyn's a pretty good senator. Tom Cotton of Arkansas. I think Tom Cotton of Arkansas would indeed be a very, very good choice for the Senate Majority Leader. I think it would be good. What about you? Do you have somebody that would, say, for example, look really, really good leading the United States Senate? Do you have any idea who that might be? I'm still thinking Tom Cotton. Who do you think might be a good Senate Majority Leader for the Republican Party? Mitch McConnell is a goof. I mean, he's just a moderate. He's just kind of a moderate placekeeper. I mean, he doesn't even think his own party could win in 2018. How about this, Mitch? Why don't you find a way to make it happen? Why don't you find a way to win? Do you know what that looks like? I don't think he does. I just don't. White House political director Bill Stepien told Politico that while a sitting president's party tends to lose congressional seats in the administration's first midterms, he and other GOP leaders hope strong economic numbers and newly passed tax reform legislation will help Americans. I'll tell you what, if it doesn't help Republicans, rather, not Americans, but if it doesn't help Republicans, nothing will. I am telling my fellow conservatives, we absolutely must possess a different way of representing conservatism in Washington. Because I'm just going to be awesome. I'm just going to be straightforward with you. Okay? Just going to be straightforward with you. There is no way whatsoever that these guys, that Mitch McConnell is fit to lead. He's just not. He's not a leader. He's an excuse maker. He looks for ways to be able to avoid getting anything done. That just infuriates me. And republicanism is not anything close to conservatism. Those of us who are conservative want a closer relationship with the Constitution for our federal government. Is that not the case? Look at what happens when you start to remove limits from the United States government. Look at what happens. Before you can say Barack Obama, the nation is $20 trillion in debt. $20 trillion in debt. What do? What do you say? I know what I say. I say, oh my goodness gracious. How are we going to pay that money off? Well, we're going to grow the economy. That's how we're going to pay the money off. We're going to pay the money off by growing the economy. The economy is going to burgeon under this president. And all we got to have is a party that actually understands what it takes to win in Washington. The Republican Party isn't it. The Republican Party simply isn't it. Now, does that mean we shouldn't vote for Republicans? Well, we've already seen what Democrats want. What Democrats want is a nice socialist country where the politicians are the entire world. That's what they want. They want to be the people that, because they're really the only people in America that knows how to spend money. You don't know how to spend money. You don't know how to feed yourself. I mean, that's what President Obama and Michelle Obama wanted you to know more than anything else. You weren't feeding your kids properly. You just weren't. And they were fat because of you. Holy criminy sakes alive-y burger. I don't know how we're going to do it. We got a mountain of work in front of us. If you're a Republican, you know what? Your party's in deep trouble. If you're a conservative, You got to find a way to get conservatives being elected to Washington offices. You got to jump all over this Republican Party while it's down, while all these guys are retiring. You got to find people who are conservatives, that can win. That actually can win. You got to find conservatives that can do that. If you can find conservatives who can win, Tea Party people that are good people, they're out there. Go out and find them. Get them registered for the primary quickly. Get them registered for the primary. Get them engaged. If you're able to do all that, then what will happen is this. Is that our nation's government will be represented with conservatism more than it's represented with republicanism. And that is exactly what this country needs. It's at the top of my Christmas list, as a matter of fact. It is. Gosh, Santa Claus, just drop through my chimney, man, and bring me a conservative party that can win, that can supplant the Republican Party drivel and foolishness so we can have a great country again. This is the Wells Report.
All right, man. Sounding good.
Thank you.
All right.
Do 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 do. Bo da da da. Hang on.
Really? Wow. Yeah, that's different. What did I just do that for? Let me get this rolling here. All right, back in 20 seconds, man.
I'm ready, buddy. You are listening to the Wells Report, 844-927-6691, 844-927-6691. It's great. Mitch McConnell. We had a great year for the Republican Party, but I'm thinking we're going to lose both the House and Senate, blah, blah, blah. Really? Seriously? All right, so outgoing Senator Al Franken took a parting shot at the Trump administration and the rhetoric of the GOP as he delivered his final speech from the Senate floor. It sounded like this.
Well, I hope that my colleagues on both sides of the aisle will stand up for truth. The thing is, I have spent enough time with my Republican friends over the last 8.5 years to know that you are motivated by values just like Democrats. I just hope that you will fight for those values forthrightly. But at the end of the day, it's going to be up to the American people, just like it's always been. We will always have the democracy we deserve, if not the government we want. It's going to take ordinary Americans deciding to become more informed consumers of political news and opinion, and deciding that they're willing to be part of the argument themselves instead of simply tuning out all of the noise.
Yes, indeed. Tuning out all the noise. The values being advanced by the president and his allies in Congress simply don't represent my beliefs that our economy, our democracy, and our country works best when they work for everyone. The GOP agenda, he said, is about consolidating political and economic power in the hands of corporations and the very wealthy. He questions whether senators were losing the war on truth. Who will stand up and fight for more honest debate? I hope that my colleagues on the other side of the aisle will stand up for truth. Yeah, I hope the guys on your side of the aisle will stand up for truth. These will be his final remarks from the floor, he said. Franken used his speech to express worry about the direction of the country, saying there's something wrong with the way we're arguing and urging Americans to become more informed and on current events. It started long before 2016. Lurking behind each of those issues isn't just a difference of opinion or a difference of value. There's something far worse. A lie, he said. Franken also gave a shout out to Senator Lamar Alexander, the Republican from Tennessee, the Republicrat from Tennessee, and thanked him for his work as chairman of the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee. I've learned from Republicans. I've learned to respect, if not always agree with their opinions, and learned how their backgrounds can lead them to reach, in good faith, a conclusion I could have never imagined. Senator Amy Klobuchar praised Franken after his speech, saying he had defied expectations when he joined the Senate. I think that last call of action he left us with, the truth in what we do and the truth in politics, is something that no one should forget in this chamber. It is one way that Al's work will live on. Lieutenant Governor Tina Smith, Democrat from Minnesota, will fill Franken's seat next year. And so Al Franken, comedian, Saturday Night Live star, Stuart Smalley, is now someone who has been retired back to regular life. He got through 2 elections. He was re-elected to the United States Senate, and I don't care what you believe. That is one amazing accomplishment. It's my hope that he will live a happy and prosperous life moving forward. And I hope that he enjoys the fact that he's come a very long way. An amazing American story. Al Franken, United States Senator. You're listening to the Wells Report. We'll continue our broadcasts on Friday as we continue on the USA Radio Network.
All right, sir.
All right, sir.
I'm gonna run in here to the kitchen real quick, man, and I'll be back in a few minutes. All right, sir, we're back in 1 minute.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
I'm sorry. I'm right here.
All right, no sweat.
Let's see. Oh, okay. Let's see.
All right, back in 10 seconds.
North to south, coast to coast. This is the Wells Report. I am John David Wells. Our telephone number is 844-927-6691, 844-927-6691. So let's see what's going on. It's Christmas. That means that people who are not Christians around the world are doing their absolute dead level best now to upset as many Christians as they possibly can. One of those people, one of those groups of peoples, I guess, are Palestinians. So far, 2 Palestinians have been killed in the Gaza Day of Rage. 2 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli fire and demonstrating along the Gaza border, according to the Palestinian Ministry of Health. The latest violence flared amid tensions over the status of Jerusalem after U.S. President Donald Trump recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Well, any excuse will do. I mean, you know, when you start really thinking about it, any excuse will do. The Islamist group Hamas, which controls Gaza, called for a day of rage, joined other Palestinians in staging protests. One of those was Zakaria al-Kafarneh, 24 years of age, from Gaza. He was shot in the chest. It says right here he was shot in the chest with live ammunition, as opposed, I guess, to being shot in the chest with blanks. All I can tell you is shot in the chest, pretty good shooting. I mean, don't get me wrong or anything like that. I'm sad he's gone. I truly am. But it's like, I mean, this is stupid. I mean, this is just plain stupid. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't accomplish anything. It does not accomplish anything. Should anybody who protests the American embassy move to Jerusalem be hit on the head with a stick? Seriously, I'm asking that question seriously. 844-927-6691. The question I have for Palestinians: if your national reputation is known as a people who act like rabid jerks, does threatening your neighbors with act of rabid jerkiness actually mean anything? The answer is no. All it does is get your kids shot. That's all it does. CNN does not do the Palestinians any favors whatsoever by reporting the story this way. The kid was shot in the chest with live ammunition. What are they going to do? They're going to shoot beanbags at these guys? The answer is no. Not going to shoot beanbags at guys who shoot fragmentary rockets into Israeli neighborhoods. Palestinians in Gaza rolled burning tires, hurled rocks at Israeli soldiers. Troops are responding with riot dispersal means. In addition, during violent riots, IDF soldiers fired live rounds selectively toward the main instigators. So I'm reasonably sure that Zachariah Al-Kafarne, who used to be 24 years of age before he was killed, was one of the guys that was actually fomenting the mess. Geez, I'm sorry. If you don't want to get killed by the IDF, stay away from them. Stop reading your own press clippings. The poor Palestinians beaten up again by the bad, terrible Israelis. Oh. Sorry, I've lived with this for 50 years. I'm done with it. I'm just done with it. I mean, if the Palestinians want the IDF to continue shooting them, okay, fine. Keep doing things that make the IDF shoot you, and they will continue shooting you. Keep firing rockets into Israeli neighborhoods, and they'll bomb your houses. Keep using your passes to go to work in Israeli-controlled zones and hit people at bus stops waiting for the bus to show up and kill a few of them. And Israel will continue to make your life miserable. At some point, the Palestinians are going to pull off something so awful that no one in the world will care what Israel does. If they keep doing this, if they keep egging the Palestinians on, and I'm talking about the world press, I'm talking about everybody in Europe, 128 countries voted against the United States moving their embassy to Jerusalem, the capital of Israel, because, well, it makes the Palestinians mad. We can't do stuff that make the Palestinians mad. Yeah, because they're rabid jerks. And if you wave red flags in front of rabid jerks, what do you get? Rabid jerkiness. It's been ever thus. I started paying attention in 1975. It's always been a mess. By the way, in case you're wondering about that vote, U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, sent an invitation to the 65 countries who did not vote against the United States in the UN General Assembly vote to denounce President Trump's recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital. The invitation to the January 3rd reception marked a symbolic step of the U.S. taking note of who supports the country and who doesn't. Haley's email invitation, which had been obtained by Fox News, asked the nations who voted on or abstained from voting or did not cast a vote to a reception to thank you for your friendship to the United States. I'm sorry, I would leave the abstentions out. I'm just sorry. I wouldn't. I mean, I'm not going to invite you to a reception to celebrate your inability to make a decision. Your indecisiveness has nothing to do with friendship with the United States. Therefore, you don't get the really cool pastries. The Honorable Nikki R. Haley, permanent representative of the United Nations or the United States mission to the United Nations, invites you to a reception to thank you for your friendship to the United States, Wednesday, January 3rd, 6 to 8 p.m. Formal invitation to follow. Good. 128 to 9, 35 abstentions. 21 countries were absent during the vote. 21 countries were absent? What were they doing? They're looking for the tall grass is what they were doing. They're trying to find a place to hide so they don't have to make that decision. It's interesting the way the West looks at it. The West says, okay, you abstained. I get it. You abstained. So come to the reception. Well, the thing about that is that they aren't your friends. They're the people that wouldn't make a decision on it. They're the people that try to have their cake and eat it too. That's just that. That's just that. These people are anti-Jewish bigots. All these people in the Middle East that want to run Israel into the ocean. They're genocidal bigots. That's it. That's all there is. And saying that they're anti-Semitic, they're saturated in anti-Semitism. Well, that's just a term that allows them to continue doing it. Anti-Jewish, genocidal, racist bigots is much more accurate. I don't want the United States to continue allowing these countries of the United Nations to take our money and then try to humiliate us in the United Nations. If you intend to be our enemy, be our enemy. Don't accept our foreign aid and then vote against us. Unless you don't need the foreign aid. That's clearly the case here. The clear case here is these people do not need American foreign aid. So be it. No American aid. Here's one of the cool things about it. This is such a no-brainer that Jake Tapper, who from time to time has been an absolute genius and from time to time hasn't been, got it right today. Among the 128 countries who voted to condemn the U.S. on this issue were some countries with some rather questionable records of their own. Take Venezuela's representative body. The world is not for sale. Your votes imperil global peace, the representative said in the video. Yeah, your votes aren't for sale, but mine is. The U.S. imperils global peace, says the representative of Venezuela, Tapper repeated, in a country mired in a humanitarian disaster with violence in the street, an economy in complete collapse, citizens malnourished, dying children being turned away from hospitals, starving families joining street gangs to scrounge for food. On what moral platform does the government of Venezuela stand today? Not to be outdone, writes Jake Tapper, the U.S. got an earful from Syria. We're in the 7th year of a brutal Syrian civil war that has killed 500,000 people, displaced millions. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad used chemical weapons against his own citizens, including children. Yemen, which helped draft the resolution condemning the U.S., seemingly more focused at least on the speech where the U.S. puts its embassy in Israel than on the 7 million Yemenis on the brink of starvation in that country's civil war, said Tapper. Absolutely true. Plenty of policies and actions that are perfectly valid to criticize about the United States and about Israel. Certainly, whether this move will help the peace process in any way seems to be one of them. There is no peace process. There's just a peace quagmire. But listening to these countries, including North Korea and Myanmar and Turkey and China, lecturing the United States about human rights and peace, well, might seem just a bit much. 9 countries voted with the U.S. 128 countries voted against the U.S. 35 abstained from voting. Well done. Nice job. All I can say is 128 of you. It's going to be a long, hot summer next year when you don't have American aid to buy air conditioning. This is the Wells Report on the USA Radio Network.
All right, sir. Sounding good?
Thank you. Okay. And no. No. Okay, this will be good. Oh, man. Whoops. Let's see here. Check 1, 2. Oh, that's right. I needed to find out. Let's see. Okay. Hey, what's going on, guys? I just got back to the chat room. I wanted to make sure that that the sound is okay. I thought demonic socialism worked. Oh, democratic socialism worked. What is demo? Yeah, it's communism. That doesn't work. Respect, and if you cannot, keep on moving. Yeah, Arletta's got it right. Yes, sir. Oh my goodness gracious sakes alive.
Oh, back in 40 seconds, man.
Cool.
All right, here we go in 10.
Okay. Our telephone number is 844-927-6691. 844-927-6691. This touched my heart. Juliana Timorese wrote this in Fox News. It's an opinion piece. At this time of year, American Christians are free to celebrate Christmas any way they like. Freedom of religion is a cherished right for U.S. people, not just for Christians, but every faith. But in many predominantly Muslim nations around the Middle East, Christians are threatened and persecuted 365 days a year. As an Assyrian Christian who fled my native Iran in 1989, I know about this harassment and persecution from firsthand experience. As the founder and president of the Iraqi Christian Relief Council, I know about this persecution because of the work my nonprofit does to assist persecuted Christians throughout the Middle East. The Iraqi Christian Relief Council has been operating since 2007. Last year alone helped 110,000 displaced Christians. They offer food and medicine, job training, home rebuilding, and other services. With more support, they could help many more Christians. Vice President Mike Pence is scheduled to visit the Middle East in January. His visit will be a good time to speak up about the persecution of his fellow Christians and how to press nations to do more to protect the Christian minorities in the region where the faith first took root some 2,000 years ago. Such a move by the vice president would be in keeping with America's role as the beacon of religious liberty and other human rights for people around the world. In the worst cases, religious hatred has claimed the lives of innocent Christians in the Middle East who want nothing more than to live and pray in peace. For example, in April, bombings at 2 Coptic Christian churches in Egypt killed 49 Christians. Another 28 were killed in a bus attack in May. Earlier in December of 2016, a church bombing by ISIS took the lives of 25 Christians in Egypt. It's amazing. In war-torn Iraq, the persecution of Christians who are indigenous to the land is even worse. When President George W. Bush mounted his invasion of Iraq, he named the deployment Operation Iraqi Freedom. Millions of Iraqis took those words seriously. So did my own community, the Assyrian Christians. We trusted those brave American soldiers to protect our basic rights, including freedom of religion. But the last 2 consecutive American presidents made protecting religious freedom in the Middle East a low priority. Iraqi Christians paid a better price. We pray the Trump administration will do more. The collapse of Iraq's central government when Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein was overthrown left the minorities vulnerable. Some 1.3 million Iraqi Christians, 75% of the pre-war Christian population, were driven into exile or killed. Most are still displaced, many in makeshift refugee camps. ISIS and other Islamic militants cite religious justification to murder Christian men and boys and to enslave, rape, and sex traffic Christian women and girls. Is it a wonder so many Christians have fled? In working with the Iraqi Christian Relief Council, Ms. Juliana Talmaresi, who wrote this article, witnessed what was sustained religious persecution and what it does to people. It devastates even the survivors. Men cannot find work or defend their families against violence. They slip into depression, at least. There's a bill before Congress that offers real concrete aid to persecuted Christians called the Iraq and Syria Genocide Emergency Relief and Accountability Act. The measure passed by the House in June would provide U.S. with funding to faith-based and other groups carrying out humanitarian relief and reconstruction work along the Christian minorities or among Christian minorities in both Iraq and Syria. The Senate has not acted on the measure. Well, that's right, because Mitch McConnell might have to make a decision. Yeah, okay. You are listening to the Wells Report. time for us to help our fellow Christians. I certainly hope we can. More details coming up. This is the Wells Report on Friday on the USA Radio Network.
All right, sir. Moving right along.
I would.
Back in 1 minute.
I think that Apple software does it. Right? You know, because it's working in the background, and I'm asking it to do something. Okay. I got him.
All right, sir. Back in 10 seconds.
I'm here.
All right, 10 seconds.
Eight 844-927-6691. That's how you get through to the Wells Report. To the Wells Report. The deep state may have outsmarted itself. I would certainly hope so. The deep state, in case you do not know, is a group of people from the Obama administration that could not countenance the possibility that Donald Trump could actually be the president of the United States. They just simply won't deal with it. And so what they decided to do was they decided to compromise pretty much everything they ever thought about their government career would actually be, and begin to use their government career, their job in government, as a way to bludgeon the Trump administration. And they did it. Some were very straightforward, and they have essentially been caught. James Comey. Others have been more circumspect. They are in a situation where they're still kind of playing the game a little bit, but they've sort of backed off a little bit because, well, it's a very serious mess. People are beginning to get very upset about it. FBI Director Andrew McCabe, for example, in this Manu Raju Jeremy Erb article on CNN, had to face numerous questions this week about his interactions, conversations, correspondence with his one-time boss, former FBI Director James Comey. Spanning both the FBI's Russia investigation and its probe into Hillary Clinton's private email server, this according to multiple sources from both parties, with knowledge of the testimony. In private testimony before the House Intelligence Committee, McCabe told lawmakers that Comey informed him of conversations he had with President Donald Trump soon after they happened, according to 3 sources with knowledge of the matter. The testimony suggested McCabe could corroborate Comey's account, which included Trump asking Comey to show him loyalty, which the president has strongly disputed. Comey previously testified that he briefed some of his senior colleagues at the FBI about this conversation with Trump. What if it didn't happen? I mean, I don't expect you to make a qualitative decision about the characters of either man. But at this particular moment, who would you believe? Donald Trump or James Comey? I know that's not much of a choice, 844-927-6691. But if you had to make a determination, if you had to nail yourself down to a particular decision, if you had to make a judgment about whether or not the President of the United States asked James Comey to be loyal during a private White House dinner, as if that was some sort of important political issue, who would you trust most? President Trump or James Comey? McCabe appeared for more than 16 hours of testimony behind closed doors. It happened in 2 sessions this week before the members of the House Intelligence Oversight and Judiciary Committees, amid growing calls for his firing from Republicans critical of the FBI's handling of both investigations. Well, there are a lot of people in FBI management that probably need to go. And the reason they need to go is because once again, they checked in their careers to play politics. If that's what you want to do, by all means, do it. Retire from the FBI, run for public office. It's okay. Intelligence Committee Republicans also grilled McCabe about how the FBI used the dossier compiled by a British agent alleging collusion between Trump and Russia. Some Republicans were dissatisfied with the responses. You see, this entire wild goose chase about Russian collusion with the Trump administration or the Trump transition or the Trump campaign, that all came out of this supposed dossier of salacious, ridiculous, gooptarian dumbness. It's really. Thursday, before the House Judiciary and Oversight Committees, McCabe faced intense questioning from Republicans about the FBI's handling of the Clinton email investigation, which many in the GOP believed was unfair. The panel's Republicans forced McCabe to answer questions about internal emails they believe showed Comey mishandled the investigation. The mood, according to Illinois Democrat Representative Raja Krishnamurthy, was tense. At this time, on Clinton emails and dragging the FBI to talk about Clinton instead of the real crime, Russian interference in our democracy, Krishnamurthy, who obviously, hey, never miss an opportunity to be a Democrat partisan. Really, forget about truth. Just get your political points in. That's what you really need to do. Two Republicans emerged from the Thursday hearing from yesterday, saying McCabe's testimony did not change their belief that Clinton got favorable treatment from the FBI when it decided not to pursue criminal charges last year over the handling of her private email server. I'll say, former federal prosecutor Rudy Giuliani said there were 16 specifications, 16 violations of the U.S. Code, all of them open and shut cases. And the FBI couldn't figure out how to make a case with one of them. At least the Comey version of the FBI. They would not prefer these two Republicans would not move forward with any more details, according to the CNN article. And they can't. I mean, that's what their security clearance is all about. You don't need to be blurting out just about everything that you happen to know for the American people. Mom and Pop America really would like to get on with their lives without being scared snotless. In the heat of the presidential campaign last summer, Comey publicly announced that Clinton would not be charged in the email server investigation. Comey said no reasonable prosecutor would bring such a case, primarily because investigators didn't determine that Clinton intentionally schemed to break federal law. Drawing the anger of Republicans, Comey also said the investigation found evidence of potential violations of the statutes that dictate how classified information should be handled. Jim Jordan, a Republican from the House of Representatives, been a sharp critic of the FBI's handling of the Clinton email investigation, told CNN, quote, everything I've heard reinforces what I believed before. On Thursday, yesterday, House Judiciary Committee Chairman Bob Goodlatte defended the two parties' focus on the Clinton email investigation, saying it's consistent with their focus on FBI decisions made in the 2016 elections. McCabe was the first witness. This investigation was announced 2 months ago. This is the first interview. We are gathering documents, said Goodlatte. Goodlatte said he told the Democrats called the probe an effort to distract from the Russia investigation. That's definitely not right. And it's just something partisan to say. It's just something partisan to say to throw dirt on the entire mess. I get it. But I know why it's happening. The Trump campaign is so busy looking over its shoulder trying to figure out what they mean by Russian collusion, trying to search their memory banks to try to find out just exactly why it is that suddenly everybody wants to know why you use Russian dressing on your salad. You seem to be doing all of that stuff so that you don't look the other direction and see a president of the United States standing in the way of a 10-year-long DEA investigation that shows Hezbollah as drug dealers working with the cartels in Central America to finance their pretty little terror war against everyone. McCabe has come out under sharp fire recent days from Republicans amid the release of anti-Trump text messages sent between FBI agent Peter Strzok, who was removed from the Justice Department special counsel Robert Mueller's team when the messages were discovered. The texts also criticized liberals, including Senator Bernie Sanders and Chelsea Clinton. What does that mean? Oh, that means, well, there were a lot of critical things that were being said back and forth. I mean, so, you know, the ones they say about the Republicans are more than balanced by the... sure. Several Republicans, including Senate Judiciary Committee Chuck Grassley, have called for his removal. Andrew McCabe. The criticism of McCabe comes as a growing number of politicians are questioning the credibility of Mueller's investigation into possible collusion between the Trump team and Russian officials. Republicans have pointed to the anti-Trump texts as well as connections between the FBI and Fusion GPS, the firm that got paid for opposition research on Trump and Russia. Really? The hearing is part of an ongoing Republican attempt to divert attention, said Representative Gerald Nadler, right on cue. The top Democrat in House Judiciary Committee accusing your political opposition of exactly what you're doing as part of any conversation, as a part of anything. Jeez. I mean, this hearing occurred with very little prior notice, weeks after the relevant documents were obtained. But although we're expecting the relevant documents, suddenly we're told we have this emergency hearing. Whatever. Yeah, whatever. You're not saying that the actual political process might be manipulated just a little bit to provide certain, shall we say, unhappiness with the people trying to cast these important votes. So they just say, oh, to heck with it, and just vote whatever they think of that moment. God. All of this is just so frustrating. This is why. Politics is not a fit career for man or beast. It's unbelievable. Just unbelievable. Jeez. By the way, this is the first in a series connected to the joint investigation into James Comey's handling of the Clinton email case that was launched earlier this year by the Oversight and Judiciary Committees. Both sides say they expect this to be the first in a series of hearings involving FBI witnesses, and the two committees have asked for at least 2 other senior FBI officials to appear. Thursday's hearing behind closed doors was considered confidential but not classified. This according to Representative Elijah Cummings, the top Democrat on the House Oversight Panel. McCabe did not discuss topics that touched on the Mueller investigation. House Intelligence Committee hearing, which lasted roughly 8 hours Tuesday, did touch on topics Mueller's inquiry appeared to be covering. In particular, the panel pressed McCabe to discuss his interactions with Comey, who contended that on multiple occasions Trump reached out to him, including over dinner. Earlier this year, Comey testified that he briefed senior FBI officials about at least 2 conversations with Trump. The January dinner where Trump asked for loyalty, and the February meeting where Trump asked Comey to go easy on former National Security Advisor Mike Flynn. In the bombshell testimony before the Senate Rights Committee, the Senate Intelligence Committee in June, Comey did not identify McCabe by name, only saying that he had briefed the FBI leadership team about his interaction with Trump. Unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. Can you ever actually trust the FBI again? This is the Wells Report on the USA Radio Network.
All right, man. All right, so that sounded good. This is good.
You want to reverse, and it will, this little window at the bottom will pop up. Press File just here, then go to Functions and click on that, and a drop-down box should come down. Then go down to Reverse, click that, and your audio is reversed. It is as simple as that. Let's just have a quick listen to that now.
All righty.
All right. I'm back in 30 seconds.
Okay. Eight 844-927-6691 gets you through to the Wells Report. If you have a Christmas message for the United States of America, be ready to call us. Coming up in minutes, we will give you an opportunity to share your Christmas message with your fellow Americans. It is the Wells Report. This is something from the Daily Caller that I thought you'd like to know. We're keeping our eye on this story about the President of the United States obstructing, if you will, the DEA from taking out Hezbollah as a member of the worldwide criminal drug conspiracy. You know, all you people that say that that the war on drugs was a failure, we need to get away from it so everybody can get high anytime they want to. You have no idea what you're talking about. The biggest mistakes. You're making the biggest mistake ever. Foreign U.S. government officials gave details to the House Foreign Affairs Committee in June about how the previous White House, that's the Obama administration, derailed American efforts to counter Hezbollah, which supports recent revelations from a report by Politico. Dr. David Asher, a veteran U.S. illicit finance expert sent by the Pentagon to help establish a team to go after Hezbollah's alleged criminal activities, testified before Congress in June. He told committee members about the collaborative effort was known as Project Cassandra. It was composed of individuals from various U.S. agencies who use law enforcement, civil, financial tools to deter, disrupt, and publicly illuminate the global illicit Hezbollah network. Asher called it the most successful operation effort taken against Hezbollah to date by the U.S. government after many years of inaction. Then he went on to say that the Obama administration interrupted the successful operation against Hezbollah in its final years. Wow. In the last years of the previous administration, for reasons that most definitely had to do with the Iran deal and concerns of interfering with it, which I thought were totally unfounded, as a former nuclear negotiator with Iran and Korea, we lost much of the altitude that we had gained in our global effort. Yeah, I bet. Bet you had. Nothing like a president of the United States to tell you to stop doing your job, to take the wind out of your sails. He continued, in many respects, in many aspects, including key personnel who were reassigned, budgets were slashed, key elements of the investigations that were underway were undermined. It was a bit of a tragedy and a travesty. We've seen that before. Remember Able Danger? Remember that? Politico's Josh Meyer explored the accusations that previous administration intervened into Asher's task force to battle Hezbollah head on. According to Meyer, Project Cassandra had launched in 2008 when it became apparent that Hezbollah went from political military organization to international organized crime cartel. According to Meyer, 30 U.S. and foreign security services investigated cocaine shipments from Latin America to West Africa to Europe, the Middle East, Venezuela, and the United States. Money laundering fronts were used to hide the cash, which included car dealerships. When Asher and the team needed approval for investigations, prosecutions, arrests, financial sanctions, authorities at the Department of Justice and Treasury postponed, meddled, or outright denied those requests. Standing behind all of it, President Obama. Dr. Matthew Levitt, a top former Treasury finance official and FBI analyst, wrote a book that described Hezbollah and its worldwide activities, in particular drug trafficking. Levitt backed up his claim in his testimony to the committee. I think there are so many tools here, and we were using some of them, as you heard, but all of them were stopped.
Hey, sorry about that, man. I had the thing turned down and didn't hear the music start.
No problem.
All right, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Usually I turn it right after it stops playing the thing. I put it back up a little bit so I can hear it start.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right.
You got 6 minutes or so?
Thank you. Or maybe they put it off. Maybe they're trying to be nice. Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Hello. 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 Boo bop dee bop bay.
All right, back in 1 minute.
JD, nowhere to be found in any rundown again today. Is this the definition of treason? JD, nowhere to be found in any rundown again today. What? What? Are you talking about helicopter? Chopper, are you talking about the president? No, that's probably not. It's probably not treason.
All right, back in 10 seconds.
10 seconds. Eight 844-927-6691, north to south, coast to coast. You have found the Wells Report. I am John David Wells. We've got Christmas right around the corner. This will be the final show before Christmas for the Wells Report crew. We're going to take a few days off. We'll have some best of material. For those of you who have listened to the Wells Report for years, but not on the USA Network, which, by the way, happened this year. One of the great Christmas presents of my entire life was given to me by Fred Weinberg this year. I got a chance to run a radio station in Dallas, Texas. And I also got an opportunity to be on the USA Radio Network, which I think is going to give me the opportunity to have the career of my dreams after all these years. And I'm hoping that we can all get together and I can provide things for you that make it worth your while to join us every day. That's my hope. But that being said, what we normally do during the holidays is a year-end retrospective. The year-end retrospective is a way to go back through the big stories of the year and how we covered them on the Wells Report, because the Wells Report is essentially a news broadcast. It's interactive news. You know, I give you the news first, and I tell you what's going on, and I don't tell you what I think about it until after I make sure that you're aware of the facts, and then I make sure that you know that there's some real news going on. Then I tell you what I think about it. That's when the conversation gets started. And I've had people call me on the telephone and say, gosh, you really got that wrong. You know, I'm going to take all the credentials I have. And here are the credentials I have. I have the credentials of an honest man. I will give you the best work I have every day to bring you the truth of the way we live and the way things are in the United States. Every single day. That does not mean that I am some oracle, some sort of piece of journalistic perfection unrolling before your very ears every day. That's not what we do here. What I do is I try to get the story right. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Not very often, but it happens. But if you think that I've got something wrong, you got to get on the phone and tell me about it. That's your job in this. There's no free lunch. If you think I've gotten something wrong, you need to fix it. I don't care if I'm the man of the hour. My gosh, he gets all this right and blah, blah, blah. Well, I should. I work at it every day. I've been doing it since 9/11. But that doesn't mean I'm infallible. And once I start talking about what I think of something, all bets are off. Get on the phone and tell me whether you agree or disagree, whether you think I'm full of it or whether you don't. That's what this is all about. That's what we're going to do this whole next year. And as awful as it has been, I mean, we just got finished with the worst election in the history of the Republic, the 2016 presidential election, a travesty. It was a travesty. And now we get to do it again? Really? We get to do this all again? The midterms this time? Oh boy. Imagine how excited I am about it. But we're going to get through this next year. And we're going to spend a lot of time telling each other the truth. Because we're going to make better decisions based on the conversations we have here. Because that's the right thing to do. And so we package all those things up at the end of the year and we do a Wells Report retrospective. And we're working on that right now. The executive producer of this broadcast, the Philip Brown, and I sit back and we say, okay, is that something that we need to follow up on? Of course it is. We will be following up on many, many of the stories that you've heard. One of the ones that has truly gotten my attention is this thing about President Obama stopping the DEA from taking out Hezbollah and their drug income. How could you possibly do that? How could you possibly do that? Let me get to Mike in Reno. Mike, we're going to be covering that story like a blanket in 2018 because we're going to follow that one to the end. Mike in Reno, thanks for joining us. Hi.
Hi, that's a huge story.
It's a huge story.
Shocking.
Yeah.
You know, and before I get to what I think is a big story is, I don't know why we're in Afghanistan. I ran into a guy at the gun show here who was he worked for the American government. He was an Uzbeki, spoke 4 languages, pushed to Uzbek, Persian, and some other one, English. And I said to him, I'm getting distracted here. Why are we really in Afghanistan? Is it the drugs? He just said no comment, for what it's worth.
Well, we're in Afghanistan. We're in Afghanistan because everybody uses it as a place to run terror training schools.
What about the 70% of the world's opium from Afghanistan?
And there's 70% of the world's opium. Yes. Yeah.
What I think is a big,
Go ahead.
What I think is a big story is this UFO story that broke about a week ago by the New York Times, a liberal rag, a good newspaper. The connection with Harry Reid, George Knapp. I don't know if you know who George Knapp is.
Of course I do.
He frequently. Okay. All right. And the sighting by the Navy or Marine pilot on the Nimitz, 100 miles off San Diego.
Yeah.
I think this is what's called in the community, mini or demi disclosure. And it's shocking that it hit mainstream. And I think that's one of the huge, huge breakthroughs. I don't know how you feel about it. I assume you're a Christian.
Sure.
I'm not. I'm not a Jew, and I'm not a Muslim. I am religious,
You're a pagan.
but I thought, yes, I am.
You
And I
are.
follow Eastern religion. Yes, I am a pagan, so you could wish me a happy solstice, which was a terrible.
Yeah, I was
thing.
just going to say that was
But I believe in
yesterday.
reincarnation.
That was just that
I know.
was.
I believe.
Yeah.
Yes, and it was a bad day. But I'm telling you, I am religious. I believe in reincarnation. I believe in the soul, etc. But I know there's tremendous resistance to UFO truth by the fundamentalist Christians who think they're demons, etc., etc. I think that's a big story. What is your position? And as far as the next senator from Nevada, I wonder what his position is. If it's going to be Tarkanian or hopefully not Rosen.
Yeah, I like Danny Tarkanian. I think he's a good guy. And we'll see what happens. What is my position, Mike, on the UFO thing? Well, I wasn't going to talk about that here, but I guess I can. I remember seeing a Hubble Space Telescope picture. You know, the one that they found a place of sky that they thought was empty. And they pointed the Hubble Space Telescope at it. And they focused it up and they took a picture. And there were thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of entire galaxies in that picture. You know the one I'm talking about, right? I mean, it was just awe-inspiring. I think they named it. Let's see, Hubble Galaxy Picture. Yeah, they call it that. The Hubble Galaxy Picture. Yeah, that's the one. It's the one that you're familiar with. I mean, there are just endless numbers of 10,000 galaxies, they say. They say that it was maybe the most revealing Hubble photograph ever. It was one of those. And I looked at that and I said, how could there be? And then when we're talking about a galaxy, we're not talking about the solar system. We are but one little piece of the Andromeda galaxy. And all of these other galaxies are more or less the same size and same shape and same type of galaxies as the Andromeda galaxy. And you look out across, and I'm going to get religious with you right here. You look out across God's firmament. And I don't know how you could possibly believe that God's children stop with us. How could that possibly be? We're not the only concentration of God's children. Look at this. Look at this epic place in which we live. We would be the only ones here? Poppycock. And that takes us to, okay, how did all of this get here? I was talking about this with someone who was, throwing the Bible at me and the logically arrived at 6,000 to 7,000 years and so on and so on. And I pointed out that God's time was completely different than what we could imagine, what we imagine or even could imagine. And it seems to me that if we go back to when God waved his hand and created the universe, then that would have been something very much like the Big Bang. And at least in this dimension, everyone that you can see, all of these galaxies that you can see are made of the same stuff. The same elements apply across all of this universe. Which means that the clock started at the Big Bang and everybody got pretty much the same tools. Sunlight, water, air, all of the things necessary. And we found that there are planets out there that are perfectly adaptable to human life. And you look at all that and you say, gosh, you know, what are we going to do when they show up? And in that very famous scene from the movie Poltergeist all those years ago, the little girl looks away from the static on the television and says, they're here. Yeah, I believe they're here. And I believe that as we continue developing as a technological race, we'll see them more and more. This is the Welch Report.
All right, sir. Sounded good.
What'd you think?
Yeah, man, I believe it too, man. Like, you know, I mean, like you said, there's got to be something. You know, we'd be kind of naive to think in all that space that we're the only thing. You know, we're the only beings around here. Hold on, somebody's at the door.
Go ahead. Helicopter, I'm reading what you're saying. Treason is defined the crime of betraying one's country. I don't know. Normally what ends up happening is that I guess treason is also giving comfort to one's enemies. Let's see here. Treason, Wikipedia. Let's see here. No, that's not what I want. I want this. Let's see. What is this? Okay. Treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against the United States. That didn't happen. Or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. Don't know that the president gave Hezbollah aid and comfort, although calling off the dogs may be that. To me, what he's done is he's participated as a willing member of a crime cartel. You know, he's an accessory. He's an accessory to organized crime. See, to me, that's more along what he's. If you're going to charge President Obama with something, I don't know that it'd be treason. I think it would be something along the line of. I think it'd be somewhere along the line of, you know, international organized crime figure. So that's what I'm thinking.
All right, we're back in 20 seconds, man.
Candace, call me.
All right, here we go.
You are listening to the Wells Report. I am John David Wells, 844-927-6691, 844-927-6691. The wonderful and sweet and beautiful Candace Donnelly, someone who has been listening to this radio broadcaster. I don't know how long it's been now. I think Candace has been listening. She lives in Rockford, Illinois. I think she started listening when I started working on a radio station called KXNT in Las Vegas. And I think that was, 1996, 7, 8, 9, somewhere in that vicinity. Anyway, and she has brought up something here, and she said this. She said that she was tracking. Well, I think she's going to call us on the telephone. I asked her to do that. She quoted Psalm 33:9. Quote, "For he spoke and it came to be. He commanded and it stood firm." Unquote. And so Candace is going to join us. I'll go ahead and grab the call, Mike. I know Candace. Candace from Rockford, Illinois, welcome once again to the Wells Report. Always a pleasure to have you here, darling.
Well, thank you, and Merry Christmas to you, JD.
Merry Christmas to you as well. And I appreciate. How long have you been listening? How long have you been listening to this broadcast?
Oh golly, you really took me back. I first heard you on WMAL in Washington. I did listen to you in Las Vegas as well.
I was filling in.
Did.
I was filling in for someone there, and so that's where you found me. But that was not me doing the Wells Report.
No, you were doing their show.
Yes, I was doing. Yes, I was filling in on WMAL from my home studio in Las Vegas.
Yes, and then I've listened to you in Las Vegas. I've listened to you in a number of other venues across the South.
Yep.
When you've been there as well, so it's been at least, I'm going to say 12 years-ish.
Yeah, 13, 14 years, somewhere in that vicinity. All right. I wanted to know. So talk to me a little bit. I was just reading Psalm 33:9. For he spoke and it came to be. He commanded and it stood firm. I don't know how that precludes the Big Bang.
Well, I'm not a scientist, but I am a daily reader of the Bible. And I in my opinion, I associate Big Bang with secular humanism or atheism. And I associate when it says that God spoke, maybe it was literal, but it said he spoke and it came to be. In other words, he created. None of us can create. Only God can create, because he's the one that can make something out of nothing. And a Big Bang to me associates.
Go ahead.
Is there's like some sort of explosion. There were particles already there, atoms and everything were already there in order for something to have a big bang, a big explosion, and boom, here you have your universe. But God's a God of order, not of confusion. And when I hear that he spoke, to me, that means he initiated it. He was first. The particles weren't there. God preceded all of that.
You see, that would make, you see that to me, that would make sense, because to me, God came upon the universe and it was void. There was nothing there. Just what you're saying, no particles, no nothing. And before the Big Bang, there was nothing. Well, what I'm saying is that, and wouldn't it have been funny if God actually used the word alakazam? Anyway, I was just thinking that. How funny would that be?
I wonder if that's in the Aramaic.
And what if he just waved?
I wonder if that's in the Aramaic or the Greek.
I don't know. Alakazam. If he'd have said that, that'd be so funny. Anyway, the one word that came to us from God was alakazam. Perfect. Anyway, so what I'm thinking is that, he called for the universe to appear, and it did. I don't think that precludes the Big Bang. I think that because there are statements that say, as your technology grows, it becomes indistinguishable from magic. Surely the work of God. I mean, I'm just thinking that you create something as mighty as the universe, and I believe it was. Who else would create it but God? Who else would create it but some entity, some being that could indeed create matter out of nothing? I mean, to me, I think getting bogged down in whether the Big Bang actually happened is only because scientists say, well, that's what happened and blah 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 blah. To me, I look beyond who said it. I said, well, believe me, you bring an entire universe into existence in the blink of an eye. I guarantee you there was some noise. And I guarantee you there was a lot of light. And yeah, it was there. And yeah, it stood firm. And it still does. I think we agree, Candace. Love you, darling. This is the Wells Report.
All right, sir.
All right, then.
Going right along here, man. You got about a half hour.
Yeah, somewhere in the middle of the show, I started enjoying it. It was sometime after the first hour. When did I come out there the first time? Because I'm saying somewhere in the middle of the show, somewhere, I started enjoying it. Right? And I started doing it. There's a moment in every show where I find myself actually doing the broadcast, as opposed to just going through the facts and so on and so on, right?
Yeah. Well, that's good, man.
Well, I think that's what people are trying to get me to do more of.
Yeah.
They want me to be more me. And I and that gets back to, okay, do I trust me to be me?
Well, people, yeah, that's probably the best. That's probably the best. Yeah, definitely when you're being yourself.
Well, I don't know. I get pretty conceptual. Like, for example, people say, well, what about these beings? They're going to be so far advanced from us. Not necessarily.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be, if we're all starting with the same tools, right?
Yeah.
If we're all starting with the same tools, then essentially, oh, I love you, Candace. You are so good. Anyway, I believe that everybody starts with about the same thing. So I'm thinking maybe a century two difference in the actual timeline of progress.
Yeah.
Right? And the great equalizer is the technology curve. Because as your technology improves, the time between great discoveries gets shorter and shorter.
Oh yeah.
So eventually, the entire universe from a standpoint of everybody having the same tools would coalesce again. Right? We'd all and to use the Star Trek analogy, would be we all discover the space warp.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Have you ever seen a show called Ancient Aliens?
Yes.
I like that show.
Yeah. So here's the thing that bothers me, though.
Mm-hmm.
The people that really bother me are interdimensional beings.
Oh yeah.
That exist on a completely different space-time continuum, but can travel between them.
I don't know. That's getting kind of advanced for me.
Well, yeah, but think about it for just a minute.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
You mean travel between galaxies?
Travel between dimensions.
Yeah.
They could be their dimension, life in their dimension could have been around for 50 billion, gazillion, 100 million billion dimensions. I mean, and so if they could travel between dimensions, they could lay waste to us relatively easily.
Oh yeah, yeah.
See? Because their technology, if they're traveling between dimensions, Their technology is vastly ahead of us. I mean, if
Here we go, man.
go ahead.
Here we go. All right.
Eight 844-927-6691. This is where you call me on the telephone and give me your Christmas card. You give me your Christmas wish. I'm going to start. God bless you and yours. God bless you on this renewal of the great Christmas story. That in a land far away, many, many years ago, the Son of God was born and spent his first days in a manger in a place called Bethlehem. And in the 34 or 35 years in which he walked the earth, he gave us a religion that we follow to this day, knowing that in his life we can find eternal salvation if we only listen. God bless you and yours. May your Christmas be sweet and joyous. And after the presents, if you have them, and after all of the stuff that really doesn't have that much to do with the Christmas story per se, if you pay attention, at some moment in your Christmas celebration, either you'll remember a little kid looking at you, or you'll see a little kid looking at you. And you'll see the religious moment as they suddenly put it all together. You'll see that religious moment and they'll go, wait a minute. And that moment of communion is completely unforgettable. Epiphany, in fact. I hope you see that this year. I hope you look back to the thousands of years of Christianity and find hope and solace in that many have gone before you. And this is your time on this earth, in this religion. And that you make the most of it. Merry Christmas. 844-927-6691. 844-927-6691. That's the number. Punch in the code. Mike Hawkins will direct you to the airwaves where I will listen to what you have to say about Christmas. I was going to talk about this last half hour, but Mike asked me about what I thought about UFOs. So I thought I'd spend a little bit of time with that. Former Miss America, Mallory Hagan, is gorgeous. She is not just gorgeous, but she's smart. She's not just gorgeous and smart, but she is well educated. She has learned the endless arts of feminine life. She became Miss America in 2013. And she became aware of emails exchanged by the Miss America organization CEO, Sam Haskell, and board members and that those email messages were both offensive and just plain cruel is saddening to me, but completely understanding. I mean, it's understandable. It's not because Mallory Hagan is, I don't know. I don't know what these letters said. You know, I know that Miss America Mallory Hagan said, when I first read the emails in the article, I wasn't shocked, but I was validated. I'm not shocked that this happens. I've made my living not as a beauty queen, but as a but I have made my living with my talent, honed over the years in a nonstop effort to become excellent at it. And so I understand a lot about management taking shots at talent, even the talent that they make millions with and from. For the longest time, I try to explain to people around me that this is happening, these things are being said, and that I have ability to look at the paper and say, see, I told you. In a statement, the Miss America organization told USA Today, upon learning of these emails, the board of directors acted immediately, informing an investigative committee, retaining independent legal counsel to conduct a full investigation of the matter. The statement, which can be read in its entirety below, also noted the emails were obtained illegally and that the Miss America organization does not condone the use of inappropriate language. Sam Haskell, the CEO of the Miss America organization, described Mallory Hagan as fat and gross. Are you kidding? In another exchange from August of 2014, Haskell received an email that said that Hagan's hairdresser had been commenting on Hagan's sex life, as well as her recent weight gain. Haskell forwarded the email to Miss America telecast lead writer Louis Friedman and noted, not a single day passes I am not told something horrible about Mallory. Friedman replied, Mallory's preparing for a new career as a blimp in the Macy's Thanksgiving parade. As she continues to destroy her own credibility, her voice will attract less and less notice while she continues her descent into an unhappy, pathetic footnote. P.S. Are we four the only ones who have not slept with Mallory? The emails also suggest Haskell smeared Hagan and her pageant coaching business after he became convinced she was personally maligning him. Soon afterwards, Hagan's name was added to a list of coaches that Miss America contestants were not allowed to use, and soon after, Hagan's lucrative coaching business fell apart. Other former Miss Americas have also responded to insulting comments made about them in emails. Haskell's and a top employee allegedly joked about wishing Kate Shindle, who was crowned in 1998, were dead in one email, according to the Huffington Post. Shindle said, I don't have the words to respond. In a statement posted to Twitter, which called for the immediate resignation of the entire board of directors, especially Haskell, only then can the women of Miss America reclaim its rich history and catalyze what is clearly a necessary evolution. I agree. I completely and totally agree. These emails also targeted a 1998 winner, one-time board member, Gretchen Carlson. She won a sexual harassment suit against Fox News chief Roger Ailes when she refused to join in on attacks against other former Miss Americas. According to the Huffington Post story, Haskell praised media consultant Tammy Haddad for devising a brilliant plan that would drive Carlson insane. Yeah. By the way, Haddad also called Carlson a snake in the email thread. As a proud former Miss America, former member of the board of the Miss America organization, I'm shocked and deeply saddened by the disgusting statements about women attributed to the leadership of the Miss America organization. No woman should be demeaned with such vulgar slurs, Carlson said in a Twitter statement today. In response to the story, Dick Clark Productions, producer of the live telecast, has cut ties with Miss America because of the offensive correspondence. Good. Just goes to show you the Dick Clark organization, the Dick Clark Productions, still a serious and brilliant television production company, even if Dick Clark is not with us any longer. Good for them. Now, one of the things about making your way with your talent is that you have to come to grips with the fact that there are people who will hate you. There are people who will love you. And then there are these people that will say they love you and do their best to undermine and damage you at every possible turn because they're evil people. You can focus on these people if you choose. I have, from time to time, talked about a few of these people in my professional past. Not because I wanted to slap them around in public, but because I wanted to warn people who were about to run afoul of them. And I have done that not because I wanted to create difficulties for them, but I did that because people needed to realize who they were dealing with. And so when you find yourself in a situation where you're maligned, and you're going to be maligned, and where you're patronized when somebody actually hates you, a frenemy, you will have huge setbacks. But to me, those people that are willing to damage your career can be evil, rotten, terrible people that you can focus on, or they can be what I have chosen to make them in my career, which is an agent of change. I got the biggest break of my career because of a guy who has 10 ears. There's no other way to say it. The man simply has 10 ears. And I said, poor guy, he's got 10 ears. Good luck to him. He's had a wonderful career because there's apparently so many people with 10 ears out there that they don't realize that they're being advised by a guy with 10 ears. But that being said, you know, what you end up doing is you end up saying, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take everything I know and everything I believe, and I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to put it on the line, and I'm going to create a culture where people can feel empowered to do that very same thing and perform at levels that rival magic. And rather than find ways to keep somebody down who performs at that level, I'm going to tell them they're performing at that level. Gosh, I wish I could move them forward into a place. And sometimes I do move them forward into a place where they can achieve ecstatic stardom, which is what they deserve. If I can have a hand in that, I try. Because I don't have 10 ears. These women have been maligned by people who made millions of dollars based on their beauty and their talent and their brains. to say vapid and backbiting things about them, I believe says everything you need to know about the people that we're talking about right now. These are people that are driven by envy because they can't do it. They're driven by what they don't have as opposed to what they do have. And the people that have it become the enemy. And the people that don't have it become the purveyors, the kingmakers, to try to bring these talented people before the audiences of the world, all the while being able to maximize how much money they make without having to pay the people that they're living off of anything, if they can get away with it. It's part of the business, and you have to learn how to deal with it. And I hope all these women do at some point. This is the Wells Report on the USA Radio Network.
All right, sir.
All right, sir. See, what do I have to do here? I have to do all of this. Oh, crap. I want to do this one. I got to do this one. I got to do this one. I got to do this one. I'll be back in a minute.
All right.
Just trying to figure out, what I can do to make that happen. Okay. On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me. I'm going to miss all during the break, but I look forward to seeing everyone next year. Merry Christmas, Random, Candace, JC Fab, Red Cap. Hey, all you guys. Helicopter Kicks, Stephen Popel, and all to you guys behind the scenes help the show go on. Thank you so much. Me too, you. Arletta, God bless. To all of the, let's see, how many people do I have here? Let's see, I've got participants.
I'm back in 10 seconds.
We got 10 seconds. Okay, that's fantastic. 7 lurkers. You are listening to the Wells Report. I am John David Wells. Before we go, I want to relate to you the 12 microaggressions of Christmas, thanks to Lisa De Pasquale. Holidays can be difficult for many people. Some have family members overseas fighting in the war on terrorism. Others are preparing for their first Christmas without a loved one. There are also those who are still recovering financially from Obama's 2010 recovery summer. For the next 2 weeks leading up to Christmas, the self-professed moral betters, social justice warriors, won't be talking about any of those issues. Instead, they'll focus on small, insignificant problems with Christmas. Their goal is to destroy joy, not celebrate it. They focus on microaggressions, not blessings. While we don't know if 3 French hens were free range or whether the 6 geese a-laying wanted to carry their eggs to term, there are just 12 of the things that social justice warriors are all upset about this Christmas. First, the nativity. French courts ruled the nativity scene could only be displayed in public spaces if it didn't demonstrate a public recognition or preference for a given religion. While many wanted an outright ban of the nativity, the judges ultimately decided that its nativity displays could remain because Christmas has become disconnected from the religion, and the nativity is merely a decorative element. The heteronormative nativity. Social justice warriors understand small victories matter. Some don't believe in an outright ban in the U.S. wouldn't work because they couldn't come up with enough creative ideas to shock those who still think Jesus, Mary, and Joseph have some significance in celebration of Christmas. A few weeks ago, they collectively went gaga over a nativity scene so creative a 5-year-old could have thought about it. Here it is, 2 Josephs. Right. The gingerbread man. Several years ago, a bakery in Melbourne was praised for its innovation. Behold, an ultra-modern, genderless gingerbread figure. These treats not only woke, but vegan and organic. However, there was still more work to be done. Gingerbread could be offensive to redheads and those who are gluten-free. Furthermore, gingerbread houses are offensive to the homeless. The 12 microaggressions of Christmas. Consumerism. Bashing consumerism is their mainstay week of bashing mainstream way of bashing capitalism. Yeah, that's true. They lament consumption and Black Friday mania. They lament the vicious cycle of people demanding more goods, hiring more people to make those goods, then creating more households who can afford to buy more goods. They even claim that Black Friday brawl videos are simply entertainment for the rich to shame the poor. On and on and on. No, we don't live in the Hunger Games. Happy portrayal of the nuclear family. We can't have that. Mom, dad, sister, brother, we can't have a nuclear family celebrating a holiday. This simply cannot be the case. They watch commercials throughout the year so they can complain and threaten companies with boycotts about tally race, gender, sexuality, and so on and so forth. Didn't have enough gay people in that, or you didn't have enough these people or that people or those people. A white Santa Claus. We think of a jolly, fat, white, bearded man with pink cheeks and a white and blue suit who may or may not be holding a Coke. Upset with Santa Claus? Wow. How about letting the kids decide? Kids like him. Human Santa, a fat shaming Santa. These are the 7 microaggressions. This is very funny. You need to mistletoe, of course, mistletoe. And Baby, It's Cold Outside. Got to get rid of that song. A Christmas Story, same thing. It's sexist, you know. And wrapping paper. Yeah, 5 million tons of waste is generated just because people use wrapping paper. Hey, if you're one of these people that are nodding saying, yeah, you know, these are all things that I should be worried about, do me a favor. Reach over there and grab a broomstick and smack yourself in the head as hard as you possibly can. The executive producer of the Wells Report is the Philip Brown. Our studio coordinator is Mike Hawkins. The guy who made this possible in the year 2017 is Fred Weinberg. Janet Bro is also my best friend in this organization. God bless you all. Have a wonderful Christmas. We'll see you next year, or actually after Christmas, for another edition of the Wells Report.
All right, so good show.
Thank you, sir. I will see all you all on Wednesday
Yeah.
of next weeky.
Yeah. Have a good.
You have a good Christmas.
Yeah. Have a good Christmas, man, and we will see you back, man. See you back on Wednesday.
All right, buddy. See you Wednesday.
Have a good one, dude.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Let's see. Let's get rid of that. Let's go over here. Let's get rid of that. Let's go over here. All right, you guys. Arletta, take good care of everybody. God bless you all. I'll see you again right after Christmas. I love you. Thank you so much for everything.